This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Monza edition of the Inside Line F1 podcast. We are looking for a Monza miracle this time. Of course, we want a Ferrari 1-2. We all really do. And we are wondering, do we really care about the championship battle anymore? Lots of stories to talk about. Don't forget, we also have an Italian driver on the grid. And we also need to remember that this is the most special circuit on the calendar for a few really important things. One of them is the fact that Kunal has driven on Monza. But we'll get to that in a second. But Kunal, when I say Italian GP, headline win, big drive, one that you remember for years, which driver comes to your mind?
Headline win, Pierre Gasly, 2020.
That's a good one.
French driver driving for an Italian team. And I actually relived some of that last evening when I was preparing for this Sunday show on Viaplay, because that was the first race my daughter saw. I mean, she didn't really see, she heard it. She was like 6 days old because she was born on the weekend of Spa before, and then Pierre Gasly won. So I'm always like, wow, you won and you were the lucky charm for Pierre Gasly. So that was one. And then, do you remember who else was on the podium that race weekend?
Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll.
That is correct.
Yes.
Can you imagine? Lance Stroll has been on the podium around the historic circuit of Monza. But yeah, that's the headline win that I can think of. I know you would have said 2024 Charles Leclerc. I know you probably would have said Carlos Sainz, one of the years. Or was it him?
8, Sebastian Vettel. You could go for a lot. I mean, really a lot. Like 1988. Gerhard Berger as well is one that stands up. But hey, we're not going there. We are going to Daniel Ricciardo. There's a reason why I brought up that question, because he's in the news again. And I've been doing a bit of MotoGP research over the last couple of days. So I don't know what this is all about, but I saw a picture of him with the Ford logo. What's up? Like, what's happening there, Kunal?
So Ford Performance is now Ford Racing. They've rebranded that division. And I just, as I always do, I use a lot of sarcasm on Twitter because I think people take themselves too seriously on Twitter. So I'm the first one talking like tweeting lots of sarcastic stuff. And I said, is this a backdoor entry into Red Bull Racing, Ford? If Max Verstappen has to win, and certainly people have gone bonkers over that tweet. I don't understand why. Or maybe I do. Maybe the algorithms do. It's Twitter. No, but the truth is, Ricciardo, by the way, is got Italian heritage. He's Italian-Australian. Okay. So Monza is technically his home race as well, even though Australia celebrates him a lot more. But yeah, I think it's just going to be one of those announcements where he's an ambassador, followed by him going off-roading with the Raptor in the Baja, or maybe even the Dakar Rally Championship, or he's just going to go have fun. He's made his money by exiting Renault when he did, by leaving McLaren when he did, and he's just going to go have some fun.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't forget that he's a racing driver. Like a racing driver, not just someone to put smiles on faces. He is. I mean, he spent pretty much half of his life, in fact, 75% of his life, being a racing driver or pursuing that journey. So I hope he races, because that's what we fell in love with at first. A driver who had the late brakes and was confident as hell. And yeah, there's that. But Ricciardo...
I agree. I mean, he's given up Formula One. So not that Formula One is a be-all and end-all of racing. So he should hopefully still go ahead and continue. Just go have fun. Like Vettel's been saying he wanted to have fun, and Mika Häkkinen had fun in DTM, and Michael Schumacher did all the MotoGP stuff and then came back and so on. But anyway, that's the Italian Grand Prix headline news. It's going to come at 2:00 Monza time. So in about 2 hours after this live stream should end.
Well, speaking of fun, I want to talk about Monza for a second. And there is a reason why we're going to Monza and not the championship battle here, because the championship battle is not fun anymore. 34 points is not fun. I know a lot of it can and indeed will swing. The fear is it might swing further towards Oscar, and that might completely kill things off. Now, why is that fear? Is that because Lando had a DNF? No, because Oscar was just so good last time out. And hence, we have to then talk about the circuit as a place where we see a lot of pivotal moments in world championships. Think of 2021, where Verstappen and Hamilton collided with each other. Think of 1988, where Senna and Prost both DNF'd, and then it started the second chapter of the season, where we had such an amazing year as well. Or even 2010, where we started to see competitors fade away, and then we got to our final three with Alonso, Webber, and Vettel. The Italian GP always stands out as a race where pivotal moments start to happen. And I wonder what that pivotal moment will be this time out, Kunal. In whose favor, rather?
Could it well be? Could it well be? And now I'm being completely bonkers when I say this, but could that, 34-point gap? Oscar Piastri's never gone to a race weekend with a gap that long, a large gap, never gone with a full race win lead gap, if you get what I'm saying. Will this change the way people approach things? Will Lando Norris feel a little more, I don't know, less stressed, less pressured? He was very cheeky in saying, if I lose the championship by the number of points I lost because of the engine failure, power unit failure, whatever, then I'll still keep my chin head up and drive. Which meant that in his mind, he knew he was sure that he could chase down Oscar Piastri this season. But
is that your reading from that quote? Because in my head, I'm not sure, because it's words, right? Words can be interpreted in many different ways. I felt that there was a statement of rationalization, that he's kind of accepted that it is what it is, and it might not be in his favor. So he's trying to process it by rationalizing it. That it's future rationalization. Perhaps
it is rationalization, but rationalization by saying that if I lose it by that gap, okay, then it's out of my control, which also meant that situation that we faced in Sanford, if you isolate that, in his mind, Lando Norris thought he was anyway going to win the world championship this year. That's how I read it. That it's a long championship.
He's thinking about losing, though.
Yeah. I think maybe that's how it drives him, because when he thinks of winning, we've seen he's just pulled up a lot of pressure on himself. And could feeling a little loose in terms of the pressure, not feeling the pressure as much, could he just send it and see if it sticks? Because technically he has not as much to lose here on as, say, Oscar Piastri. Could we have a sour papaya that rules the papaya rules? You never know, because what could McLaren do? What will McLaren do if something has to happen? If, let's say, Lando drives into Oscar, let's just say, okay, and Oscar DNFs, McLaren is not going to, I don't know, drop Lando from 2026.
Yeah, they're not going to do that, are they? Yeah. I suppose it's a lot down to how badly Lando Norris wants it, and in his mind, is this the last chance? Because I think you've got to treat every world championship as your last chance. You never know when it might come back. So I believe going sour might not be the bad route after all. If that is what it takes to win it. Nobody's going to remember 10 years later, right? They're just going to remember you were a world champion.
Yeah. I mean, and Zach Brown is the manager of Lando Norris. Okay. I'm not trying to put words in people's mouth or thoughts in people's minds, but just saying, and I'm not am I saying that Lando should go sour. I'm just saying, you spoke of pivotal moments. Could that be the pivotal moment of 2025? Could that bring that, the confidence or the interest back in the world championship or whatever? Prasanna is here. He's saying engine failure seems like a good excuse for Lando to hide his incompetence in front of Oscar. Well, the only way I see it is I don't want an engine failure to be deciding any world championship ever. Whether Lando scored, whether Oscar's championship material, let them go and have fair chances to prove it themselves.
It'll be fun. Let's see where Lando Norris really is this weekend compared to Oscar. That'll come down a lot to confidence. That'll come down a lot to being ruthless and being there in qualifying. Because 2021, Daniel Ricciardo put it up in qualifying and he was able to control it to take a McLaren 1-2. That day, Lando could have taken his first Formula One win. It came a couple of years later after that. He had to wait a long, long time. And I wonder what's changed. Maybe this is a checkpoint in Lando's career where we see the second part of it. Like we see how ruthless he's become 4 years away at Italy. So might be a very fun point.
But do you think, besides the two of us and Prasanna and several others tuning in, do you think people are going to care about Lando and Oscar this weekend? Or do you think there's another legendary Scarlet Red team that people are going to talk about? Because I know I did a short on what if Ferrari never raced in Formula One, and that went viral. For everyone listening into audio and watching this stream, check out our YouTube channel, check out our Instagram page. We're going to start this what if series, look at scenarios, ask some fun questions and see where that leads us. And Samuel, you yourself did another short on the 1988 Italian Grand Prix, where in a McLaren-dominated season, Ferrari actually scored a 1-2 finish. So we should continue to dream about, Ferrari winning at home in front of the tifosi. And like we've seen, that's all the tifosi cares about. If the other 23 races are sour, the Scarlet Red is darker, lighter, brighter, doesn't matter, so long as you stand on the top step of the podium in Monza.
For that, they'll need a lot. All I'm saying is it's not impossible. They will need a lot to go in their favor. And I know what we say in the media is just creating hype, right? I particularly feel that we are a part of the bandwagon and we sort of make a mountain out of their molehill, because having a driver error and another driver crash into you can happen to any given team at any given point. But when you start to look at the trend that Ferrari are the only team with a double DNF and a double DSQ in one season, it does start to look a bit bigger. I wonder what goes on here, though, because fun story, Monza 1988, the race before that, double DNF for Ferrari in a McLaren-dominated season where Ferrari were winless, over 100 points behind. They come to Monza, the first Italian Grand Prix after Enzo Ferrari passed away. And mysteriously, magically, both the McLaren's DNF, Ferrari get a 1-2. All I'm saying is there is hope, Kunal. There is hope. It's happened before. 50 years or something, whatever, but it's happened before.
Yeah. Arjun Modi has just tweeted at me, and very interesting coincidence for Leclerc. In 2024, Leclerc was P14 in Silverstone, P3 in Spa, P4 in Hungary, and P1 in Monza. Guess what the results look like in 2025? P14 in Silverstone, P3 at Spa, P4 at Hungary. What's the question mark for Monza? Where can he finish in Monza? And if we were to just look at how Ferrari have gone in Spa, they were pretty quick, and that's usually a good reference to have for how a team could do well at Monza. Yes, Monza is even more ultra low, downforce specific cars and aerodynamics, and you need a very aero efficient car. And Fianchu saying, "What a beautiful livery, only to finish P6."
It's the P7. Most pretty looking Ferrari race car. Post. Oh no! What trap have I set for myself? Because as I say this, I think of the 2010 Ferrari. After 2010, it is the most pretty. Yeah, it is. This particular livery, the Niki Lauda style rims, and the way the rear end looks, it's so beautiful. But that's what only to finish P6 and P7. But the interesting thing about Monza, Kunal, now that we are on that subject, apart from the fact that you've driven on the simulator and you made a short about it, which folks, all of you must check out on the Inside Line F1 podcast social media pages, is the fact that a circuit is good when you have aero configurations named after it, because it's such a big outlier, like the Monza wings or the Monaco wings or the Mexico City wings. Hey, yes, that means you're going to a circuit. You're going to a place where things are different. Now, for the better or for the worse, that's subjective. Sometimes Monza can have DRS trains. I most vividly remember 2020, even though I wasn't really watching that race, to be honest. But it was an issue. Nobody could pass. The Mercedes drivers were stuck, which means that if you do have a bad qualifying, which you can, remember, As we saw in the F1 movie, you can clip that final curve and fly off into the air. If something like that happens to you, then if you do have a bad qualifying, it is a tough place to get past, to pass around that. So it's important to see what lap times you get, and also the toe games you play with other drivers, because you need slipstream in qualifying.
You do. The toe is worth about 3 to 5 tenths in Monza. And very interestingly, we're going to see Q1, lots of traffic, everybody trying to give the other one a toe. If somebody is taking power unit grid penalties, because that's also something you could end up seeing at Monza, because everyone also takes a new power unit for Monza, given the power needs of the circuit. So the toe games to look out for. And you spoke of the DRS trains. Well, there are two things to keep in mind. The wings are anyway so skinny that the DRS effect is fairly limited, because there is so little drag to reduce. So what does the DRS stand for? Drag reduction system. But if you already have low drag, where's the drag to reduce from? So in my mind, getting stuck in a DRS train is the biggest challenge at Monza, which is why strategy is crucial. It's typically a one-stopper unless there are race interruptions. Like I think there's a 50% chance of a safety car this Sunday based on historical data. And Feyanshu saying, hope Hamilton gives a fat toe.
I have a question on this though. Can a toe be fat, or is it a big toe, or is it a fat toe, or is it an almighty toe, or what's the official term you're using here to describe toes?
I just call it a toe.
There must be like a quantification to it, right? Like
I'll put it this way: is it effective? Oscar Piastri had a toe where a car was 5 seconds ahead of him on track in Zandvoort. Okay, so if Hamilton's going to give a toe to Leclerc, he would hope that he's maybe 3 seconds ahead, if not more, at the right times. Could be Yuki Tsunoda giving a toe. Could be, I don't know, so many drivers, but so many narratives. We're 15 minutes in. Somil wanted to end this in 20 minutes. I don't know how we're dreaming of that number.
No, 20 is good. But all I'm going to say is, if you are not a Formula One fan and you've stumbled upon this stream where two people are talking about giving toes to each other, it's not what you think it is. Just to put it out there, it's not what you think it is. But we're forgetting, Kunal, that we have an Italian driver on the grid, and we're only going to bring him up in the last 3 minutes of the show. Are we forgetting, or do we want to forget? Because it's been a season to forget, in the second half at least, for Kimi Antonelli. And he's coming back to a place where the start wasn't quite good, but it's Monza. It's the place where he'll feel the most at home. What are you expecting from him this time? What's your baseline performance expectation from him?
I would have hoped that Mercedes, Toto Wolff, Gwen de Grue, his mentors, while they've been grooming this young kid, talented kid, sat with him, put their arm across and told him these things happen. I know Toto's been saying this in the press, but how do you actually deal with him in private is what will matter. He needs a clean weekend. He needs to just be there. And, when he's had clean weekends, he's been about 2 to 4 tenths off. I know we spoke about it in the magazine show, Pits to Podium. Check it out when it comes out after Monza. We were discussing rookies, and technically at the moment, given the hype and then given the performances, maybe Antonelli is one of the worst rookies on the grid in 2025. But that's just the bar that has been set so high by the likes of Hadjar, by the likes of Bortoleto and Behrman. So it's not that Antonelli is bad. It's just that the others have had fantastic debut seasons.
But they've also had they've also comparatively had less quick teammates. I can't say slower. Slower is a very tough word to use as the Formula One driver, but yeah, but Russell's quicker than the other ones, isn't he?
As is Esteban Ocon. I think Ocon is a very tough teammate to have. I mean, Liam Lawson or no, Hadjar or no, Yuki Tsunoda or no. The point is, when Hadjar had his chance, he took them. So yes, it's comparison against your teammate, but it's also, are you making the most of the chances that come your way? And I know there is a question, any fun Toro Rosso facts? I wish I was a fan then. Well, Somil, you got one from 2008.
Yeah. Yes. 2008, my first race, my first memory of Formula One was Sebastian Vettel cheering and clapping his gloves and hands above his helmet, because he had become the youngest race winner in Formula One at that time. Can you imagine? Toro Rosso / Visa Cash App Racing Bull / Alpha Tauri, or whatever they are known as today, won a race before Red Bull. It was Sebastian Vettel who made it happen right here at Monza.
And it's their home race as well. Based in Faenza, not too far away. Prasan
Yeah.
still has a question on the McLaren drivers. We'd come to that, Prasan. Just give us a couple of minutes. But it's also a home race for Haas because Haas has a design office in Maranello.
Yes.
Okay. So they're going to have a lot of people
And
coming down as
their
well.
chassis are built from Dallara, who are, of course, Italian as well.
McLaren's Andrea Stella, he's Italian as well. So that's a home race for him, right? And what else can we say? Because I know we are hyping Monza for the circuit that it is, the history that it's had. I think it's a 76th race in Monza that we will have. It's called the Temple of Speed. It's the only temple I go to in my life, or I'm even remotely interested in my life. And Monza has been that location, has had more F1 races than any other location. And Samuel, it's the only purpose-built circuit on the F1 calendar, one of the oldest ones that have been there. And you know how, I'm going to ask you this question because I know you know the answer, how the Monaco Grand Prix is always the third Sunday of May, right? Coinciding with Cannes and all the other fun things that happen that I don't care about. Monza is actually always the first weekend or thereabouts of September. It's typically signaled the end of the European part of the F1 calendar.
Yeah. The end of the European calendar and the start of the end, the beginning of the end. 500 GP for Pirelli as well. Hey, good stat,
Yes.
actually, Archie. That's a really good one. Pirelli are also, of course, Italian. So we're all celebrating. Also, we need to now come to the last question, and it's the most important question of the episode. Who drives the car better? And who do you think McLaren prioritizes in making changes and bringing development in their car? Who do you think the car is built around? Asks Prasan. I think it's a myth that we've had debunked 1,000 times with Max Verstappen. The car is not built around anyone, my friend. It's an engineering miracle that you can build a car around someone. I think you just chase performance first, and then the drivers have to adjust. That's their job. That's why they're drivers. And then you can take their feedback, and then the feedback can be, you can weigh in whose feedback you take in more. But generally, no Formula One team will be like, hey, one driver can score me the points that two drivers can. So I will only prioritize them. It's not. They want both the drivers to score because you want to be risk averse, don't you? Especially when you're putting in billions of pounds to make it happen.
Good point, which means I have nothing to add on this. Thank you for that. But two key stats that I'm tracking this weekend. It's the fastest race on the calendar, but that means it's also the shortest race time, right? We've seen in 2003, the Italian Grand Prix actually ended in just 74 minutes, Somel, right? In 2024, Leclerc, when he won, he was just 20 seconds away from breaking this record. And yes, I know 20 seconds sounds a lot, but when you divide it by, the 53 odd laps we're going to have on Sunday, it's just a few tenths every lap. So could we suddenly have the fastest race delivered in the shortest race time in the history of Formula One? Could that be one of the things that could come up? And then the second thing I'm looking forward this weekend is qualifying. We should talk of that because statistically, qualifying here is as important as it's in Monaco. I think 15 out of the last 25 races have been won from pole position, right? In 2006, the top 6 in Monza was the closest in F1 history. 0.186 seconds was the gap between P1 and P6. In Hungary, which was 2 races ago, I believe they already broke this record. I think the top 6 was closer. Could Monza be that place where they suddenly have more records to break, right? So on that note, who do you think is going to be on pole position this weekend?
I'm going Lando Norris for pole and win. I want a championship fight. And you?
I get a feeling it's going to be Oscar Piastri, even more so, right? And that's what's probably going to happen. I think we might see some variations in strategy. It all depends because that's what happened last year. 2 stoppers seemed like the right way to go, and then Leclerc just made the 1 stop work. The undercut is usually very powerful, but if you're in clean air, you could also make the overcut work as well. So I'm going to see, and where do you think we're going to see more overtakes, Samuel? Is it the turn 1, 2, or is it turn 4, 5? Where do you going to be? Where do you think we're
Turn
going to see
1,
it?
2. No, actually 4, 5, because 4, 5 is it's a no. Curva Grande, and then
It's turn 3.
Yeah, turn 3, 4, 5 is the better place. Yeah, because of course slingshot, run back. That's how normally it'll work out. That's what it is, right? Formula One's become more about the second move rather than the first one. So
And also, if the cars are evenly matched, you just don't get the chance in turns 1 and 2, but you line that up for turns 4 and 5. And do you think Red Bull's going to actually bring a Monza spec wing? Because they've not had a Monza spec wing come before. I know this is the last question. Someone needs to run, but I think we overshot on some of the other stuff. I have so many more things to say. Do you think Red Bull's going to bring a Monza spec rear wing? Because they typically never brought a Monza spec wing. They would bring a Spa one and chip off the downforce.
not sure. I didn't track that. No,
Okay.
I didn't track that.
Okay. So anyway, teams can bring even wings from the previous seasons to Monza. I think Red Bull's going to throw everything at it. McLaren's bringing new wings. So is Ferrari. So are some of the other teams. And then we will see you in the race review episode. Isn't that, Saman?
Yeah, that's true. Sunday, make sure you join us. We're trying to go immediately after the race. Let's see if we can make that happen. Click on the bell notification to stay in tune with all of us. And more shots coming in for us, all of us, for all of you folks as well. So subscribe to the Inside Line F1 podcast on Instagram and YouTube. And we'll be there with you, posting content all throughout and coming back for the main race and also for the magazine show. So stay tuned. We'll catch you there, guys.